Hello guys and welcome to another video. I'm Alex from Tech Fusion and I have the pleasure today of showing you a few tests. This is yet another video where I will take these four 15,000 RPM SAS drives, run them together in different configurations to see in my testing of 10 minutes of phase 1 if there is any performance to be had while tweaking some settings around in the Chia app and as well running them in different RAID configurations. For today's video, as I've mentioned, I would like to take these four SAS drives here, run them in different configurations to see if there's any performance that can be squeezed out of them while farming Chia. I'd like to start off the test simple by just running this one single SAS drive over here, which is a 15K 300GB version, to see how far along it gets after 10 minutes of testing the phase 1 of plotting Chia. Afterwards, I'd like to create a RAID 0 array where I will add a second drive and see if there's any performance differences between running two drives or running just one drive by itself, at least for phase 1 in plotting Chia. Afterwards, I would like to continue the test by adding a third drive and see how far along they get after 10 minutes and if there is any performance boost to be had by adding a third device. And as well, I'll add the fourth drive that I have available for me here today and see if running them in RAID 0 will give us any further performance increases or will there be no performance increase after all. Specs wise, these are the exact same drive. I'll leave the model down in the video description. These are 15K 300GB each and they're capable of 6 gigabits of transfer speeds anyway, theoretical. I will be running them together in a RAID 0 using this HBA controller from HP as well. This is the H240 that is capable of 12 gigabits per second speed. This is overkill, but this is what I have at the moment, so this is what I'll be using for the test. You can correct me down in the video description, but I think it makes no difference if you would be using a 6 gigabits per second controller with more ports than these 12 gigabits controller with less ports, because anyway the speeds that these drives can physically give you are way less than the 6 gigabytes that they are rated for. One very important thing to mention here is that running a RAID 0 array on these drives, or any other drives for that matter, be it an NVMe, SSD or HDD, is while doing your plotting, if you lose one of the drive and it goes bad, then the whole plot that you have made actually goes bad because that data is no longer usable, so you'll have to restart the whole process using one less drive or swapping out the drive for a new one. I saw on some tech forums people throwing around the 2.5% failure rate on these sort of drives, so common sense tells me that running multiple drives in a RAID 0 array might give you better performance, but it definitely will increase the odds of one of them failing and you losing your overall plots. Alright guys, as you can see, I'm booted now into the OS. I don't have any RAIDs set up or anything, so I have to go into my HP Smart Storage Administrator software in order to do this. I will mention that I'm running this controller in RAID mode here. You can as well run it in HBA mode, which will allow your OS to identify and assign all the partitions as you will. But if you're running RAID mode, you're unable to do that directly in the OS until you activate them in the Smart Storage Administrator, which I have done here. So I have four partitions, the four drives. One of them is assigned and the other three are not assigned yet. So for the first test, I'll just leave it as is. I'll go into Disk Manager now, which it is here, Disk Manager, and I should be able to, yes I do. So there you go, you have one disk, 300 gigabytes more or less, which is unallocated space. I'll go and create a simple volume at it. Yes, I'll leave it as is. I'll just name it Z. And well, I don't know, SAS drive. All right, I'll perform a quick format, click next, click finish, and we should be able to see it here. Yes, we do. So now we have the drive available for us in the OS. So I'll open up the Chia launcher. Right guys, so as you can see, I have the Chia blockchain already opened up here. I'll go ahead and add a plot. I'll leave the standard size alone. I'll leave one plot as it is. I will, however, change in the settings here the number of threads that we're going to allocate. I'm going to change this to 4, as I want 4 threads to be allocated for, well, the one plot that I'm creating. If you want to see why I'm doing this, well, you can go ahead and check my previous video where I've done a bunch of tests and determined that changing the number of threads here to 4 is actually a bit more beneficial than leaving it alone as the 2 threads that Chia prompts you to use. I'll go ahead and use the temporary directory. So we're going to be using the SAS drive. that we're going to write to, and the final directory, well, it doesn't really matter, we're not going to write anything to it, but I'll just choose whatever I have available. This is actually my NVMe. It doesn't really affect the testing in any way, because we're not going to get to the phase of the test where we're actually going to dump all the information that we're writing to the temporary space down to the final directory. So I'll go ahead and create a plot and leave you guys to it and check back with you in 10 minutes to see the performance. Alright guys, well, this concludes our tests. After 10 minutes, we're at 2% overall progress, and we are just at 28 buckets of information that had been written down to the drive. I would say its response and write speed were just about, well, 50 to 100 megabytes a second. Okay guys, so now that the first test has concluded, I'll go ahead with the second test. I went ahead and formatted the logical partition, and I went into the HP software here. I deleted the existing array, and I'll go ahead and create a new array. I'll select 2 drives here out of the 4 that I have available. I'll create the array, choose RAID 0 first, then I'll go to full strip size, which is this, maximum sector per track, and I'll go ahead and create the logical drive. So now with the array completed, I'll go ahead into my disk manager here and create the partition so that the OS can see it. As you can see now, I have disk 1 here just shy of 600 gigabytes total, which is unallocated space. So I'll right click, click new simple volume, next. Yes, I will assign a letter to it, Z as before. I'll choose to name it RAID again. Actually, I'll choose to name it RAID 0 at 2 SAS. Okay, perform a quick format, yes, finish, formatting. And there we go, now we have it available in the OS to write to. So I'll start the second test here. Alright, I've opened up the Chia blockchain app once again. We have the 2 drives, which appear to be just tied together as one disk because of the HP Smart Controller. If I've created an array here and tied both of the drives together as one logical drive, then of course the OS sees only one logical drive. So keep this in mind, because the write speed will be, or I would approximate it should be double than the test before. So I'll go ahead and create a plot. I'll leave the same standard size as before. I'll still leave one plot here. I won't be doing any parallel plotting for this test. I'll go into advanced, choose the number of threads, again to be 4. I'll choose the temporary file location, which is the RAID array that we created. This is my Z drive, and select the final drive, and of course will be my NVMe once again. So the purpose of this test once again is to see that if running 2 RAID SAS drives together will give us a bump in performance or not. So let's go ahead with the test and see you after 10 minutes. So there you go, 10 minutes are up. We're at 46, well actually 45 buckets of information at 2%. I think we're actually very close to 3% running 2 drives in a RAID 0 array for 10 minutes. I'll go ahead and stop this test now. So we said 45 buckets just at 10 minutes. And now I'll create a new array. I will choose 3 drives. This time I'll leave 1 out, create the array. Just as before, RAID 0 with maximum full strip size and maximum sector per track, create the logical drive. Alright, now with the Chia launcher opened and the 3 drives connected as one and seen as just one logical drive by the OS, as you can see the total capacity is just shy of 850 gigabytes, so these are the 3 drives running as one logical array. I'll go ahead and add plot, same 100 gigs as before. 1 plot, I'll go ahead and rechange this number of threads to 4. This once again stands for 4 threads being allocated for each of the plots that you're planning to do. And I'll select the temporary drive, which of course is the RAID array that we created, and of course, well, a final directory. I'll go ahead and create a plot, and I'll see you guys after 10 minutes and see how far along into the plotting we went ahead. Alright, this concludes the test. We're at 52 buckets of memory that's been written to the disks at 3% overall progress, running 3 RAID devices, 3 SAS drives in RAID 0. So I'll go ahead now and prepare the array for our fourth and final test, which is using all the 4 drives in RAID 0 together and see if there's any performance compared to the 3 or 2 drives running together. I'll just delete the logical array, yes. And I'll go ahead and create the array. This time I'll select all the 4 drives together, create the array, same as before. Now I'll click RAID 0. We do have an extra option here, running them in either RAID 0 plus RAID 1 configuration, a sort of a hybrid configuration, or RAID 5, but I'll just go ahead and use RAID 0. Maximum full strip size as before, 63 sectors, and create the logical drive. Alright, with the Chia app launcher now opened, I'll go ahead and create a plot. Same as before, 100 gigs, 1 plot. Just again change the plot size, the number of threads to 4 for every plot. I'll choose a temporary drive once again. This time is the 4 drives together, and I'll choose the final drive as well. And go ahead and create plot, and see you guys after 10 minutes. Alright, so this concludes our test. 55 buckets, 3% overall progress on 4 drives running in RAID 0. Alright guys, so as a conclusion here, I could say that after my tests, there is a clear performance boost to be had if you're running multiple drives in RAID 0 array. But do be wary about the fact that adding more drives will increase the overall percentage of failure of one of these drives in time. And when that happens, you will lose all the data up to that point, and you'll probably have to start your plotting process all over again. I hope this answers quite definitely the question of more devices connected together running RAID 0 will increase performance, and I would say absolutely yes. By much? Not that much. It depends on the hardware configuration that you have. If you have better hardware, probably you'll see different values than the ones that I have here, but definitely running the same type of drives, the same model of drives on the same HBA controller on the same machine, I could say that at least for my test, I can conclude for certain that there is a performance boost to be had if you're running more devices in one array. Thank you guys for watching this channel. This was Alex from Tech Fusion. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more Chia related videos, and as well for PC related news coming in future videos. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments down in the box below so that we can all see them and work together the best and most optimized way of farming Chia. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one.